Welcome back, everybody. The last shape we're going to be talking about in this chapter is the kite. So a kite is a quadrilateral with exactly two pairs of consecutive congruent sides. The key thing here in recognizing the kite is that we won't have any parallel sides. So the pair of sides that are congruent are going to be side by side to each other, not opposite of each other. That's unique compared to most of the other shapes that we talked about in this chapter. And there are two main rules you're going to need to know for the kite. The first one is that if it's a kite, its diagonals are perpendicular. I'm going to go ahead and draw this into the kite that I have drawn in here. So my diagonals would look something like there's one and there's the other. And so if it's a kite, then that means they're perpendicular. And remember, perpendicular means that two segments or lines or rays create right angles. So that's important. Knowing what the word perpendicular means, as well as the symbol, that upside down T means perpendicular. So all of these angles here in the center where they meet are right angles. The second rule that we need to know is if it is a kite, then exactly one pair of opposite angles is congruent. So in this case here, there's four interior angles, and two of them are going to be congruent to each other. So maybe this top angle and this or bottom angle. Usually those are going to be the ones on the shorter diagonal tend to be the ones that are the congruent ones. Not always, but that's usually the case. All right, so two major rules. Those two rules are really going to help you solve different parts of these kites, and we're just going to go through a couple examples. The first example says to solve for x and y. So in this case, we're assuming it's a kite. They tell you this is 146 degrees and this angle is 47 degrees. If you ever forget, remember it's a four-sided figure, so the total and the entire shape should be equal to 360. That's any quadrilateral will total 360. Well, we know that one pair of angles is congruent. Okay, so that's important. And so the easiest one in this case to tell is that this angle that's 146 degrees is also angle y. So we'd say y is 146 degrees. And that means we can use these in order to solve for x. So we're going to look for this angle here, and I'm just going to set up an equation. So we'd have x plus 146 plus 146 plus 47 is equal to 360. Combining those numbers, we get x plus 339 equals 360, and then if we subtract over, we get 21 degrees. So x equals 21, and now we have both x and y. All right, so knowing that it equals 360 and knowing that one pair of angles is going to be congruent helps you find all those missing measures. Example 2 here is dealing with the diagonal. So remember we said from rule number 1 that the diagonal that is created in these shapes is going to be perpendicular. So that creates multiple right triangles. So all four triangles that are created are right triangles. So in this case, if we want to find what the length of GK is, then we have this right triangle here that we know the length of one side is 5, the length of the other is 2. And anytime you're looking for the hypotenuse in a right triangle, that's the longest side, then you can use Pythagorean theorem. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And all we have to do is plug in. This is the a and this is the b value. So I'm going to have 5 squared plus 2 squared equals c squared. 5 squared is 25. 2 squared is 4 equals c squared. Add those together, we get 29 equals c squared. And then the last step is to get rid of the square by taking the square root. And that cancels it out. You're left with c is equal to the square root of 29. And you can leave it as the square root of 29 unless I specifically asked for the decimal. I would just say leave it as a square root. So there's your final answer. So with a kite, use Pythagorean theorem to find side lengths as long as you have enough information, and you should be good to go. The final example I want to go through with the kites is using the angles again. Here we're solving for x, but we've got quite a few things missing. Notice that we know that angle T and angle R are going to be different measures. One's x plus 30. So that means that angle U and angle S are congruent to each other because we have one pair of angles that's going to be congruent. So I know that's going to be 125. So now I can use all four angles and set them up to equal 360. So I'm going to have 125 plus 125 plus x, and then plus x plus 30 equals 360. And now I can combine like terms. So I get 250 here. So that's plus 30, that's going to get us 280. And then x plus x is 2x equals 360. From there, we can go ahead and subtract the 280 over. We're going to get 80, so 2x equals 80. And then divide by 2, and we get 40. So in this case, if I wanted you to find the measure of angle R, then you could plug 40 back in, and you'd find that that equals 70. If I wanted you to find the measure of angle T, then you would say that it's 40 degrees. And of course, if I wanted you to find what x was equal to 40. And that's it.